Good morning. Hey, it's Bradley McAllister, founder of Spirecraft. Happy Memorial Day. It's a wonderful day. It's a great day down here in South Georgia. I see you folks are popping in here. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Brian, Arthur. Check out the new graphics. I'm just messing around. Good morning, Corey. Good morning, Don. I'm going to have fun today. But today, again, let's not forget Memorial Day. You see I got the flag down there in the bottom corner. I don't think that's going to be an issue on any of the images, but it might, because I was doing a bunch of things and I even forgot to turn on this camera right here. So I was busy getting those extra graphics in there, guys, and just a tick off of my mark here, which is not unsurprising, but hey, it's a holiday. So we'll give this a holiday start. You don't mind if I turn on another camera, because what I do want to do, I want to check and make sure that my little graphic, good morning, Mark Thompson. I want to make sure that my overlay of the American flag isn't going to interfere with what you need to see. And I might have to go make it a little bit smaller, but as long as it's not in the way, that should be okay. Now that one's a mess, so we're going to zoom that one in, not just turn that one on. So I don't want you to have to watch me do that. It'll make you ill. Sorry for not being completely ready. But I was close. And this piece has the color in it, so it's going to make the chroma key do funny things. So I'll have to remember to turn the key on and off. Let's see. Dad's in here. Tell him about the new kitties. yeah. We got new kitties. George Merriam, happy Memorial Day to you. Frank, thanks for popping in. Let's see here. I'm gonna have to remember my green screen. So my dad says, hey, tell him about the kitties. So yesterday, we had new additions to our temporary family. We like to take care of the stray kitties and stuff that come by, and about a month ago at least, Bridget said, hey, there's this pregnant stray kitty out here in the yard, and so let's take care of it. So we did. We brought it in, put it in our dining room. It's been in there for about a month, and yesterday we were headed for lunch, and she said, I don't see the kitty. And I looked in from the other door and I said, well, kitty's here having kittens. The first kitten had just been born. So anyway, our afternoon changed, and we spent the afternoon watching over Mama deliver 3 little kitties, and so far everybody's doing good. So that's a fun thing. If you look at my personal page, you'll see one picture, and there'll be more. Be sure there'll be more kitty pictures to come. Sweetest cat in the world. Todd Hall's in here. Good morning, Todd. Good morning, Michael. And a thank you to Michael. Thank you, sir. Michael jumped on our sale the first thing this morning. You did see I had a little ad up there when I first went in. Spirecraft today, Memorial Day special, 1 day only, 15% off. Anything in the store, anything that you can find that's, if it comes up and says it's available, 15% off for today only. So if you're looking for something, if you've been waiting to pick up a particular tool and looking for that great sale, well, today's the day. There is an ad post on all the Facebook pages and both Instagram pages, things like that. And if you see, can I do it? I can't do it from here. Hang on a second. I'll show it to you once more, just so it's also in the recording. I'll run in here to the control room, and I'll pop this up. Just save a little bit of money and all that good stuff. So, topic today. Oh, before I forget, because we were here Thursday night, the Monday Methods Wood and Resin Turning Community private group, which if you're not in it, I encourage you to join. We meet on Thursday nights. It's back out here in the studio. And we were playing with web effects. And I just wanted to show you this piece that we did Thursday night just playing with it, and I'm going to pop it into the overhead and show you that. This is the WebFX spray. I just grabbed a piece of wood that was here, and so we did terracotta, black, white, and turquoise on that, and that came out pretty cool. Just a little something for you to keep in mind. And actually, I'm going to leave that there for a minute, because one thing I didn't do, I turned on that side camera, but I did not set the focus to manual. So while we're in that picture mode right there, I'm going to change that camera to manual. So it will stay in focus as we turn today. And I will double check that setting to make sure it's good, and it is. Alrighty. One of these days I'll get that assistant in here. Anyway, so that was WebFX, and it's on the other side of this was iridescent paint, cloud paint. Just since it was laying here, I thought I'd remind you of that. Main issue today, main project, is this piece I've been working on for 3 weeks now, 3 episodes. Let's see here. What else? Hey, my mom's in. Hey, Bridget's in here. Great. Love you, babe. Good deal. Gonna have fun today. This is the piece that I first cast, or first I rough turned it out of rotten. Do I have another piece of it still laying around here? What it started out as. I think I may have thrown it outside. Anyway, piece of really rotten, bug-eaten, degraded maple. So I rough turned it, then I dried it so that we could stabilize it. Then I went through the stabilizing process with it. And then after it stabilized, well, I came in here and cast it last week. And the cast is cured now. And so it's time to turn this guy. Now, looking at the pictures here that I see in the overhead, you can see that it's not too bad in the round here, because it's a perfect mold in the mold. Now, if I put you on the one other thing, you can see the top here is not level. So I did make a slight error in my ways. And my mold leaned over in the pot. So here on the top, this is the highest point, and this is where the wood is sticking out. And Rich Bolduc was giving me a hard time afterwards. He said, you should have put more resin in. Hopefully Rich shows up today. And then over here, where it's kind of ironic, this is where there's a hole in the piece. There's no wood here whatsoever for a couple of inches, both across and going down. And that ended up getting more resin. So my top, the piece is not sitting in the resin itself perfectly centered and true. But when I made that video yesterday, if we watch and we look at the wood right in here, it's really not too bad. There's Rich. Rich, you heard your name, your ears were burning, and you had to come. See, Rich told me so. You're right. I was telling you saying about the resin there, Rich, that you told me to use more resin. So I think this guy is pretty close in here. It's off kilter just a little bit, but not horribly bad. And so the first mission I think I'm going to do, and also I've got it mounted back here in just short bumpers. And I'm going to bring tailstock up in here and have it hold it, because it's not super solid. But the first thing I'm going to do is I want to true up this top edge, make sure it's round and flat, and then I'm going to turn this around and put this against the bowl jaws so that I can get to my tenon, okay? So we'll be flipping this guy around 180 degrees after we get this face trued up. There we go. There's the green one. And I will try and remember, and you can remind me to turn off the chrome key when I'm on the other 2 cameras if I forget, because I'll forget. Now let's see what Rich says. Happy Memorial Day, damn right I did. Yeah, Rich. But if I hadn't moved, Rich, in my own defense, I'm going to stand up for myself here. In my own defense, if I hadn't moved the pressure pot and wiggled it into a little spot where it kicked it just a little bit, I'd have been right on the money. But hey, what are we going to do, right? And Art says, using the Big Easy for a starting point. Oh no, Art, you end up turning between centers. So once I bring the tailstock in here, it's not going to go anywhere. Now, one thing that is important in this, you probably can't see it well enough, especially because the angle of the camera is over just a little bit. The bumpers are pushing, because this is a cone going out. It's actually, the bumpers are pushing it away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the tailstock up, put pressure on it, and I'm going to loosen up the jaws and let them spread out so that this will sit back down flat. Okay? So I've got a few changes to make here to do that. And we are in the overhead camera. So I think I'll just go ahead and pop back up here. Let's see if this will reach with that on there. I've got a Sorby, looks like a 7/8 revolving step drive in there, and that's fine with me. Okay. And that's not going to hit. So now I'm going to loosen up the bowl jaws, making sure I'm in where I want to be. And I'm going to let that get pushed and seat this back down in here, the bottom back down in there. So I'm loosening things up, making sure my tailstock, there we go. So that moved quite a bit, and I know you can't really see in either of the pictures because this is just a tick offline, but that flattened it up. So now I want to see one thing about how, if it still rotates. It's a little out of round now, but I wanted to have that bottom, I wanted to have the bottom sitting really nice and flat there. Okay, so we can fix that out of roundness, no problem. So I'm going to push this in nice and snug, because we are turning between centers. And this thing does weigh 6 pounds. Not that 6 pounds is a lot of weight, but it's fairly dense. And now I'm going to tighten my jaws back up. So they're really more of a constraint this way. They don't really have much holding power. So really the tailstock with the revolving center pushing in is what's making this stay firm, and we won't hopefully get vibration. Now I could have put the longer reach bumpers on there if I had wanted to, and I had them both on. I took them off. I think this will do the trick just fine. So now I'm going to double check everything because I was just threw this on here. I'll make sure that's snug, and it is. That's snugged up there. Now we won't turn super fast, like maybe 600-800 RPMs. To get this trued up and cleaned up and whatnot. We will be using carbide tools today, the Easywood tools, carbide tools. I think I have negative rake cutters on the ones that I need. If I don't, I've got some cutters I'll switch out, and I also have some fresh cutters for the finish cuts. And I thought I had a negative rake on here on one of these, but I don't. So here comes our first change before we ever get started. I'm going to put on a CI3 negative rake that's used as a workhorse. Okay, going to make a quick change here. Put on a CI3 as a workhorse. Art says had to move from there to here. Okay, so a quick change here. Won't take but a minute. Oh, I don't know about that workhorse. That's one that you guys remember, I'm going to have to find another one. You remember when I hit the piece of steel a while back? Piece of metal that was in something. Here we go. I can't remember what the project was. Oh, it was that piece of walnut about a month ago. Had a piece of walnut here somewhere, and ended up having a nail or something in it from being a yard tree. And it put a divot right in that cutter. So here's a used CI3 NR, and that's what we'll start with. And then I say I have a fresh one. If I'd had a little more time, I would have put the fresh one on another handle when it came time for that. But hey, I was busy getting graphics up. And like I say, it looks like the flag there is not in the way. And if it is, you all let me know. I don't think it's a problem. There's so many things you can do with the software. Overlays, picture-in-pictures, things like that. So this is going to be our main workhorse, is a CI3 on an EasyWood Tools, the negative rake cutter. And I already have a CI5 negative rake on the number 1 hollower, but I also have a fresh cutter for it if I decide I need to. And the other cutter we'll be using is a CI2 negative rake. It's a square style with the slight radius in it and the negative rake in it. And I have a CI6 fresh if that one's not sharp enough for me. So we have work cutters and we have fresh cutters, which is always important. You save your good fresh cutters for those final cuts. Your workhorses that you've been working with, they're not as sharp as the nice new ones, but hey, they get the job done. So let's find a speed for this guy. Again, I'm going to double check that everything is hunky-dory snugged up. That was loose over there. That's for rotating. We got that good. Let's find a speed here. Let's see how she shakes. Not horrible. In the overhead, that doesn't look like it's shaking too bad. And what I need to see is what you see, because my monitor doesn't always show me the exact picture, and it looks like Facebook froze, which is bad. Don't know why Facebook froze, but hopefully that will show. Video interrupted. That's a bad day. Let me go in here and see if I see what's going on, or if it's just Facebook being weird. If anybody's on YouTube, let me know if it stalled on you out there. It seems to be showing fine. No telling. Okay. And now I can see what I need to see. And what I need to see is that you can see my fingers right there, so that's good. I can see the edge of that. All right. Yeah, Rich said you had to swap to YouTube. Yeah, I'm not sure. I saw it, like I say, hey, Mary Alice, good morning. I saw it stall there, and now it's back up and going. So be it. Let's turn off that key for that. We're going to leave her right here and get started. You never know with the live streams why they do what they do. So again, the first order of business is to clean up this face. We'll get this trued up. This piece is thick enough. Let me pop you over here to the end. The wood is thick enough that I'm not worried about running out of wood as I true this piece up. One other thing I should mention, you notice how much extra resin there might be here. That's because the piece had a shape to it, and I didn't really have a choice if I wanted resin just to cover, as I wanted to fill all the holes in the center of the piece. I needed a little extra resin. I ended up using just about a quart. I made 2 batches of 15 ounces, so I used 30 ounces of resin for this project. Get my mask on, get my tool rest up to the right height. George says it only froze for a second. Yeah, it's crazy. Who knows? I got a ton of bandwidth. I made a point of that. If you guys don't know me, but I'm kind of a techie, and I'm a real stickler on. I want things to work the best they can. So I've got 24 megabits up and just about a gigabyte down, 960, 980 going these days. Okay, let's start to true this guy up so that we can turn it around. If you have any questions along the way, pop them into the chat box column there, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook, and then I'll see them. And if I don't see something, somebody holler at me again. All right, so we're just going to come in here. We're on the end camera. Let's go back to the overhead. Just going to ease in here. We're going to make a resin mess today. This might be a good day to save all the resin turnings. People, have been asking, can you reuse the resin streamers? And the answer is yes. I've never actually done it, so I should do one. And I know I'm just barely in the camera for you right now, and I may have to get my stool out and adjust that. But I wanted you to just be able to see the cutter and see the rest of the piece. So I think I'll go to the end camera now for you. And we'll start to work our way across the top here. Gonna take a little more work here. Now you know why I wanted to have it between centers. Just the rubber bumpers probably would not hold it. And if you've never stabilized wood before, or turned stabilized wood, it is much harder than just the epoxy. Let's stop for a second there and see what that looks like across the face. Man, I'm going to be a mess today. Okay, so you can see we're obviously, this is the high point in the resin. We're cutting all that. We're cutting the wood all here. We haven't barely cut anything here, and we haven't touched the resin there. So we still got a little ways to go. And I'm going to reach my arm in that picture again. Tighten that up a little bit more just to be safe. And let's see. Micah wants to know if the Thursday meeting is available on video. No, it isn't. It does not get, well, it does get recorded, but I don't post it anywhere. I say it gets recorded. I'm not 100% sure that it does. You do it in Google Meet. It's supposed to, but I know I haven't been posting them anywhere. I'm guessing that you can't make it. And if that's the case, and if there's other folks who can't make it to Thursday, and Thursday, one of the reasons I don't do it is a lot of times it may end up just being a discussion about non-wood turning things, depending on who shows up. So it's not always something that is pertinent or germane to the group if the discussion doesn't go that way. He hosed me off before he let me in the house. Now just get the compressor and dust me off real well. So Micah, that's, I'll have to think about it. Again, because sometimes it just depends on what we get into as to whether it's actually anything there that's of value or not. But that's a good question, and it's something I need to think about. And I love the feedback. Hey, Joe's popping in. Joe almost always comes on Thursday night. Joe can tell you sometimes we talk, like last Thursday was good. We talked about things and we made things. And some Thursday nights, well, we talk about cars and whatever else. Just kind of depends on what we get into. All right, closing in on it, closing in on it. This is going to be a cool piece, I'm convinced. And I've been talking about, I was talking to Bridget, my little flipper doesn't flip up. There's a clear spot where the hole is, and I said maybe I'll airbrush a bass in it so like it's swimming through the resin. And then I had this idea after I came up with that I should airbrush the bass and then cast it some more to get the bass actually in the water. How cool would that be? I'm going all the way up to the maximum RPMs of 800 for these jaws because I just want a little more speed. Makes the turning easier. So you can see and hear a big difference between the resin and the wood. And I do need to make sure that I get this flat across here. If it's domed, if the center portion is higher, it won't sit as well back here on the plate. So I need to be careful about that. Yeah, Art says it's fun, and if you're not a member, click on over. Art helps me out with the Monday Methods group. He's a moderator, so if I'm not noticing something, he can let you into the group, as it is a private group. We don't mind people coming in. We just don't want everybody and their brother jumping in there, making things difficult in social media. All right, so just a little bit more right in here to go to get that flat. I'm going to check to make sure that I haven't loosened up anywhere at all. We're nice and snug. Snug goes up just a little bit. I feel like I'm in a Halloween costume contest back here, but you can't see that right now. Alright, so that's all the way. Oh, by the way, this right in here is part of the plastic mold that was really stuck. Even though I've got mold release on it, we'll just have to deal with that when the time comes. I want to slope it towards the center just a little bit more before I turn it around here. Okay, and I think I'll go ahead and turn this section, true this up a bit while I'm here, while we're between centers. I'm happy with that. So let me jump you to the overhead. Don says, will you turn away the plastic jar in the middle that you use to minimize the amount of resin? New people may not know that you did that. I will either turn it away, Don, or pull it away. What Don's referring to is back here in the center here, instead of having it filled up with resin and having to waste the expense of the resin and turn it all away, this was actually a plastic jar. It's a double mold technique that I use. So there was an outer mold and an inner mold, and then we fill in between, and 90% of this came off, but part of it is stuck over here, and when I take it out of here, I'll pull on that with a pair of pliers and see if it pops loose. But that was done to save on this area not being filled with resin. No need to, one, just use the resin that you're going to throw away and all that stuff. And two, just to save on the time of turning. Okay. I'll true up the outside here, so I'll go back to the overhead. Now I could do this, at either point in time, now or when I turn it around. I just wanted to be sure that I had it turned enough when it was going to be touching the bumpers. So you'll see that the wood, so here's how it's happening. Here, how you see, this is how much off center it is. So we're getting to wood here, a little bit of wood there. We're real close, and here, this is the big void. This whole area here is all resin. So it's not too far off the center, and this is the largest diameter right here of the wood, right at that point. Now I'm going to stop here because I'm starting to get close to the bumpers. So I think we'll go ahead and make the turnaround. Now, I'm going to double check this. I want to make sure that this is flat. So I'm going to get something that's big enough. Yes, guys, I actually I have reason to have like framing squares for other things. There is more to my life than just wood turning, believe it or not. Okay. So let me get out of this for a minute and get the gunk off of me, and we'll get this turned around into the jaws. So I may have to do some adjusting. We'll see. I'm going to be a nasty mess when the day is over, but that's all right. Comes with the territory. Now is a great time if you got any kind of questions to pop them up there. While I'm in between. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to move the bumpers out some, because I don't like to operate these jaws fully expanded. I think I'm going to move all of them out one notch real quick like. One quick round, and I only have 4 of the bumpers on. There are 8 that go on these. I've only got 4 of them in place because I'm working between centers. I'm not holding it with just the bumpers. If I was holding it with just the bumpers, I would have all 8 bumpers in place to get a better grip. We're just working towards getting our tenon made up. And the original tenon was 3.5. We're going to go to 2 3/8 on that. So we'll have a little bit smaller tenon, so that I don't have to get back to that exact original tenon in there. Now at the very end here, I will have to hold it with just those bumpers, but that'll be okay. All right, let's see something here. To Don's question about, we'll just pull away and explaining it. So I'm going to pop in the overhead here. And this plastic just happened to really stick is all. Like I say, even though it was sprayed with mold release, it kind of got a good hold on it and didn't want to let go. So we'll just let that get turned out. It's real brittle plastic. It was from the Dollar Tree where I get a lot of my stuff. This happened to be something, it was the perfect size. I didn't care what kind of plastic it was. It was the perfect size for what I wanted. So we'll just turn that away when we get to the inside. No need in wasting time with the pliers. Okay, let's see what we got going on here. All right. And it's in the overhead. So, and show you on the end there. So we get a pretty good grip. And now my cones are actually gripping much better. You see right here, there is a little more angle that matches the cones, the urethane cones. I'm still going to use the tailstock, okay, to keep this thing up nice and snug against the aluminum plates. Okay. Then we'll snug up here on the top. All right. Let's give her a spin. Not too bad. And there's 800. I'm a tick over 800. So we'll use that. We'll true this up. We'll create our tenon here and go from there. So we'll do a lot of shaping. I'll do a lot of the general shaping, at least of the bottom, while we're here. And I'm going to expose a lot of the wood, and there'll still be a void there. And then when we turn it around, we'll work on the top profile. So this amount of resin right in here, this little lip, well, that's just the nature of the beast of the bucket. The mold, it was a bucket, yes, but the mold had this recess, so that's just, unfortunately, although I could do something radical, and I could take a tool and part that off into a resin ring to use it for something later. Should I try that just while I'm here and I've got the idea? Do I have a negative rake CI7 on anything? I do. I'm going to try that just for yucks. I like to try new things. Who knows? It may be something I can use in another project. It may be the worst idea I ever had. You never know. Only one way to find out. Quick sip of water. This is a little micro tool. It's the only one I got the negative rake CI7 on at the moment. And you'll be able to just see this in the corner. I'm going to come in here. It may be a waste of time, but I want to try it. The other thing I might use, and I use it a lot, is parting tool. Where's my Ace parting tool? Carter & Son 16th inch parting tool. Love this tool. This is going to work. I think this is going to work kind of cool, as a matter of fact. I'll get you on the end camera. Don't ask me what will happen when it pops loose. There we go. Cool. We have a resin ring for another project. Yay! You can, like I said, I hate to waste stuff. So there we have our resin ring. God knows what I'll do with it. Maybe I'll make myself a halo. But that was better than turning all that away. Hey, it's those little victories in turning, you know, that make you go, hey, that was cool. Or not. So now we'll get in here, and my goal is to get back to the original wood profile of the piece. I want to expose the wood. The resin in this piece is a filler. And I'm going to kill the chroma key there so it doesn't look so goofy. But the resin intention is to fill the big voids that were on the side. Never intended for the piece to be completely surrounded in resin. Okay? So off we go. Everything still looks good. Check that everything's tight. Reach over there real quick. Take her back up to about 800. We'll start to get rid of the excess resin. I think I'll turn on my fan. That's one thing I'm missing today, is my fan, which will blow the stuff away from me, the smoke. You get a little bit of fumes off of resin when you're turning a lot of it like this. You gotta always have the one streamer shot here. So when I'm in here on this cut, those long streamers just cover you up. You get a veil. Okay? So I'll go back to the end shot now. As I dust myself off a little bit. Start coming across the bottom here. Just double checking that. Now you may think this is a lot of work for a piece of rotten wood, but it's a pretty cool piece of rotten wood when it's all said and done. There's a lot of neat stuff about it. And I'll start working my way into the wood here, just till I get down to the wood, all the way through. Except for where, of course, the huge voids are. Plus, the resin filled all the wormholes in here. And there was a void down here at the bottom. All the wormholes are filled with the resin. And the resin has just a little teeny bit of blue tint in it and a little bit of gold pearl. So not a lot of color in the resin, just a little bit. So I'm trying to actually start to make my more finish-like passes here as I'm going. I'm actually quite pleased the way this, considering the Lorianne, you're watching from the campsite. How cool is that? Don't you love technology? I hope you guys are having a good weekend wherever you are camping. That would be fun. Considering the crash I had with this, with the stabilizing resin crystallizing while we were out of town, I'm quite happy how this is all working out. So you can see that's the 3.5 inch tendon, but like I said, we're going to take it down to about 2.5. And I'm just taking out the excess resin here. And once I get this tendon made at 2.5, I'll reshape this whole profile. Once I've got that tendon to what the final profile is going to be. See what we got looking here. Okay, we're getting pretty close. That's a fill where there was a void. I think I will take a square style cutter and come across here. It's got a slight radius in it, but it still gets you there. Just to kind of clean some of this out of there a little faster. Wrong camera for you guys. Apologize for that. Okay. That's getting real close. You can definitely tell when you make it down to the wood. Okay, so I've got to get my caliper. I'm using my inside caliper these days because my outside is still missing an action in here. I don't know what happened to it. Don't know what the deal is. But I'll deal nonetheless. So I'm over here on a work table. Actually, the cash register table from the shows. 2.5. Let's go 2 3/8. 2 3/4. We'll go about there. Double check it that that's good. Gives me a little bit of leeway. Okay. So I just use that as my reference. And And again, I'm going to leave it between centers as long as I can. And I'm just going to use a corner of this cutter. And I make a cut like that. And then I check. It's probably perfect. It looks a little small, so I'm going to back off just a fuzz. Just to be safe. So there's where I'm at. Okay, I'm good with that. Just because it's a square cutter doesn't mean you have to do square things with it. Using that corner, I could have used a diamond tool as well, but I already had this in my hand. And I'm one of those people, I hate changing tools if I don't have to. There was some code came up on the controller over there. I hate changing tools if I don't have to. Okay, now I'll clean this up with the little diamond tool with the negative rake on it. I'll get my 10-degree dovetail on here. Is the square cutter a radius version? Yes, Don, the square cutter is radius. They don't make... I've been pushing them. I don't know if I'll ever do it. I would like them to make a true square negative rake, but right now the only square negative rake is an actual radius cutter. So it's actually a finish cutter. It would be nice to have one that was truly square. But they haven't gone there yet. When Doug Dixon, the sales manager, is in here, I usually give him a hard time about that. Okay, let's check that out real quick. That looks like that'll work pretty well. So I'm going to back my tailstock off for just a second, just to clean up this last little bit here. And then I'll put it back in place. Because, like I said, it wouldn't hold it very well. That's why I have the tailstock in place. So, different approach, since I don't like that one all of a sudden. So, my point was quite self-evident there, wasn't it? So I will have to go about this in a different way. I'm going to take as much of that away with the diamond tool as I can. Let's make sure she's still turning true. Yep. I'd rather risk a little nick in the cutter than having the piece fly off and hit me. And this is just a clearance inside the jaws. That's all this is really about. Okay, so we'll try and tighten these up a little bit more, but they just keep squishing because they're supposed to. And we will try again to very gently Get rid of the last of that. Put in the yellow bumpers. That takes too long, Art. I'll just be more gentle. Yeah, Art, if I was to start putting in the yellow bumpers, it'd be another 20 minutes by the time I found them. Got them in the right grooves. You know me out here. So, like I said, I'm just being real gentle here. We'll have this nub gone. It probably wouldn't touch now, but I don't want to have to come back after the fact. So I'm making this slightly concave so I know that it won't touch, okay? There we go. One little hump right there. This will eventually get turned away anyhow. Now, put this back in for safety because we got more work to do here. Yeah, they're in the drawer. The drawer's a scary place, as you know. Alright, we're on the end camera, so now that I have my tenon made, I know my bottom point, I've got my wood up here, so I'm going to work on this profile right through here, and now I can do anything I want to with it, because I'm pretty confident with this dimension right here where my finger's going around. That's the largest diameter of the piece. So I can make any profile between the tenon and there that I want to, okay? And I'm also confident that I have enough material on the inside to not cut all the way through. But I'm not gonna put a radical change in this. I just want to shape it up a little bit better, clean it up a little bit more, okay? And since we're here, I am looking for a denatured alcohol. I'll probably just reach in front of the camera on you, because I would like you to see how what this wood is going to look like, starting to look like, what it will be when it's got a finish on it. So it's a gorgeous piece of wood, full of holes, full of wormholes, full of character. Okay. And it once was so rotten that it was just like take it apart with your hand. So I just enjoy these kind of projects. I like making these things. So that gives you an idea. This is going to end up with a lacquer finish on it when it's all said and done. I can see in the camera I got streamers hanging off my back down to my shorts. Okay, we are in the end camera. I think I'll just jump you back and forth. Now we're working on the shape of the piece. And what we'll do is once we get this shape defined, we'll use that radius square cutter to clean up the tool marks from the round cutters, because they're kind of like an ocean. Oh, and I need to true up. I can see my tenon's got a little wiggle in it from when it jumped out. So I'm going to reach in here right now while I'm thinking about it. And that's why I made it a little extra big. Hopefully I don't make it too small. to make sure that everything turns true. Okay, I think I'll be all right. Clean up that corner. That looks better. Okay. So let's work on this profile a little bit more. Like I say, I'm not going to change it a lot. I just want to kind of dress it up. Nice, long, slow, smooth, steady cuts. Okay. Now I'll kind of clear off my table back over here on the other side where my finger's pointing, so I can start to look at the profile there. And we're real close to bringing out the radius tool. Got a little hump right up in here. Your fingers tell you amazing things. Alright, let's get the radius tool out. And we'll start to clean this up. When I start using this radius, I think of this as steel sandpaper, or carbide sandpaper, if you will. It starts smoothing everything up. You don't don't let the corners touch. If a corner touches, you get a nice groove and you get to start another pass. Okay? And the smoother we can get it with the radius tool, the less sanding there will be required to make it really nice and smooth. Okay? So I'll pop you into the overhead here. And we'll be doing a lot more of this on the top end here. But I do this and I don't have to worry about working around the headstock. We can take care of that right here. You can see what a fine layer. And clear that off to where you can see better. Just a very, very fine cut. Hey, Roy made it. Good morning, Roy. Yeah, your payment went through, buddy. You're all good. You're all good. Roy was the first one to use the Stripe payment gateway for us. And it worked just fine, Roy. All right. So that's pretty nice. I like that. It's got a, you just feel it with your hand. You go, okay, how's that feel? Does that feel good? And that does feel good. Now, looking at my profile here, do I have any big humps, anything that I can't stand? I got a little hump right in here. And if I go on the end camera, it would be right in here. Now, I'm nitpicking. Okay, and I know I am. But now's the time to fix it, because you'll never fix it later on if you don't fix it now. Make one more nice. I took that hump out of there. And like anything else, even though everything here is hard, it's all relative. So the stabilized wood, like I said earlier, is harder than the epoxy. So the epoxy here is softer, and you do get the tendency of tool bounce to happen in there. Okay? And a little bit more right here. And then, now we're ready to turn this guy around, and then we can work on the outside and the inside. okay. He says, I say okay a lot. Whenever it works, whenever something's working for me, I say okay. So we'll turn this guy around now and actually get it in the chuck out of these bowl jaws. Good morning, Jeff. Hope you're doing well, buddy. I'm out here making a mess, having fun, all that good stuff. Got stuff all over me, but hey, it comes with the territory. Just trying to keep it out of my eyes, though. Excuse me for a moment. The fan really does, you can't see the fan, it's right here, but it blows most of the stuff away from me. Yeah, I'm happy with it, Jeff. It's doing good. It's looking good. So in the overhead for you, it might jingle a little bit. Well, I'll turn off the key. So there's how she's looking, like Worm City. And then there's a resin fill area there. And a little resin fill area over here. It looks like it's like something very old, is what I see. Which I guess in kind of a way it was aged. I don't know, it's just got a nice color. Now, it's not as yellow as I thought it might be. You know, what am I trying to say? I put yellow stabilizing dye in there. I put a whole 2 ounces of Turntex yellow stabilizing dye into a 1.5 gallons. I know you can go up to 4 ounces to a gallon. And that stuff was really soft and it didn't take much color, so I'm not sure what the deal is there. But that's the way it is. Now this is the part where I always get scared that I didn't turn the tin in the right size. And I turned it too small and then I have a bad day. Hopefully that's not what happened. I mean, I've only done it like 10,000 times over. You think I would get it right. But of course I've lost my, not lost, excuse me. I have temporarily misplaced my favorite calipers for checking my tenons. Oh, and we were all good. We're actually a little oversized. If you look down in here, I mean, it's okay. I'd like to have had it more like about 1/8 of an inch or so in there. But that's not too bad. I can live with that. Because I just want the most contact I can get. My depth is fine. I'm not touching the bottom. It's always important. Wherever my ice pick went. Here's my ice pick. I can look, and you probably can't see, but I've got a space right down in there. So I know I'm good. All right, we'll snug this guy up. It's an interesting sound. Some ever heard something go crunch. Hope I'm not in for a disaster. Who knows what could happen in my world? Isn't that crunch crunch? Interesting. Okay. Let's see here. Here's what it looks from the end. Got a little shimmer to it. So that plastic, I'm just going to let that plastic turn away. But I'm going to turn the outside first, so we're going to bring this back in and keep this guy nice and solid in here. We don't want it going anywhere. Check our speed. See how she turns. So I want to go ahead and get that whole outside profile done before I head for the inside, okay? So that all looks, both those angles look good. If I turn off the key, it looks a little better, which I'll leave the key off for you. Okay, good deal. Let's see. Could it be because it's a lighter color like yellow? I wonder if 2 ounces of red or blue would dye would be stronger. It's a good question, and one of the things I'm going to experiment with more, Jeff. Something that was further away from the color that the wood was. Okay. So let's go ahead and we'll work right here in the overhead. And I'm going to wait to see. Yep, you can see that just enough. I just want you to be able to see the tool as the piece gets smaller, so we keep it all in there. And we're going to throw a bunch of resin streamer around again. And now we'll take and reshape, continue this shape around that we've got here. Clean this up. Alrighty, mask. How am I doing on time? 12:13. I think we're good. I think we're good for the turning portion of this. And I'll end up just shooting a coat of lacquer on it to give you an idea of what it'll look like when it's all said and done. I'm not going to sand it out here today. Okay. So RPMs now is about 1,000. I may be finally wearing out a bearing in this. You never know, getting that vibration. It's not bad. Trying to stay out of the way of the resin, but I can't win. I'm gonna double that tenon. Remember I said I heard a little crackle. I'm not sure what it is. Hopefully that tenon didn't split for any reason. May just be compressing. We're between centers, so it's not going to run away. But I don't want the vibration if I can certainly help it. And just for fun again, we'll put on the front view, so you can see, get covered. And I stay over here right now because I'm just roughing this out. I stay out of the way as much as I can. And you can see how the fan kind of blows it away from me anyway. And this piece is biggest right here, and it rolls back over. Get some of this off. You ever walk into a spider web? Imagine that times 100. But again, as usual, I stay over to the side. I don't need to be right in the line of everything. I'll take you back to the overhead. Gonna clean some of this up. slowly working my way back down to the original wood. I'll stop and take a look, see what's going on, how close we're getting, how she's doing. Get some of the strings off of me while I'm at it. Alright, so you can see how we're getting closer to the wood. We're not quite there anywhere yet. We're getting close right in here because it was a little off center. And if I show you the end, you'll see we've still got tons of thickness here. I am going to roll this over more, so that will take some of that thickness away. And then when we true up the inside and then take it down to a final thickness, well, then that's what we'll have. Okay, so let's see. I think I'll leave it on the end camera for you there for a little bit. Just working my way back towards that original shape that I had in mind. I went a little bit, reached a little bit further down where I had built that lip, and we'll start to blend that in. Take a look and see what's going on here. Okay, you can see in the overhead we're getting closer all the time, getting back to our wood, but we've got these great wormholes that are filled, and then of course the big ocean area, if you will. All right, I got stuff streaming everywhere here, making extra noises. I'm always real tuned into the noises, the sounds that are going on around me. So I'm going to take a second here and get rid of some of this. Just so I'm aware of what's going on. All right. So I'm starting to curve this top back around, and I'll put you back on the end camera. A lot of static in this stuff today. So I can smell that I'm starting to cut more wood. You can, you smell the difference between the epoxy and the wood with the stabilizing resin. A distinct odor change. So it's always having all your senses in play is really important, just to know what's going on. Plus you can start to see the wood chips showing up. Okay, so now I have these design elements to keep in mind. So there's a hole that didn't fill right in there. That's cool. I could make a little flare. I could do a lot of different things here. What do I want to do with this? What do I want to do? I think what I'm going to do, as my voice cracks, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go ahead and clean up the inside. I'm going to take away the tailstock and clean up the inside, get a better feel for what I'm working with. And I think if it will cooperate for me, what I'll do so that I can keep my head out of the way is I'll take this off for a second, is I'm going to rotate the head stock here just a little bit so that I can see inside nicely and not drop my head in the way. So if I'm watching that other camera there, so that you can still see inside real well. That's the nice thing about a headstock that rotates. Some people aren't fans of them. If you're drilling pins all day long, you need something that's precise. For what we're doing here, it works great for me because I can come in here and get set up and work this way, and I won't be dropping a shoulder. I can lean over there. And I'm testing that, and it's all good. Okay, so end camera, chroma key off. Tool height is good. So let's tune up this inside here. Make sure everything's snugged up there. And I'll watch out for that plastic in case a shard comes flying off of there. I'll go ahead and go all the way down in here, just kind of get things smoothed up. Kind of bouncy right in there. We still got some blue dot plastic in here. Kind of crazy. So I'm taking a fairly healthy cut now, and you can see in the shavings both wood and resin happening, and plastic bowl, plastic jar. And I'm watching over here on the opposite side of the piece. That's where I see my cut line. Now I'm getting about 3 inches over the tool rest, so I'm going to switch over to my number 1 hollower. It's a little stiffer. It lets me reach a little further without as much vibration. This is kind of bouncy down in here. So that gives me a smaller cutter and a longer reach. It starts to get this smoothed out. Because what happened is the plastic, when the resin heated up, when it did its exothermic reaction, my mold, if you will, actually flexed a little bit, so it's pretty kind of out of round down inside here, surprisingly much, and that's why all the bouncing. I don't know if you can see You see from here where my finger is, then you see that resin, so that falls away. Then it comes back around, so that's what's making all that bouncing going on. And then it's actually high in the center right there as well. So we just kind of have to work through that. When you got these weird pieces you've cast up, having patience is a virtue. It just takes a little bit longer than cutting a nice piece of clean, normal wood when you've got these different variations going on. We have two different textures or two different densities between the wood and the resin, and it's oval in here. But we're getting closer and closer to smooth. I'm going to go ahead and take some of the center out. Oop, filled it full of chips. Get those chips out of there. The center section right here is high because the mold had a recess in the bottom. So let's just go ahead and get that out of here. This has got to go anyhow. So when I get the little nub right in the center, using this CI5 on the number one hollower, I just reach up underneath it. Once I get the nub, and I just kind of reach up and cut it off. Works really well. Just right there, I just reach up, pop that nub off of there. Take out the chips. So we're kind of connecting the dots here. We smoothed out and we're lowering the center, and we're going to bring it around just right in the very corner, right where the transition is where it's out around now, and it makes the most bumpity bump, if you will. But it'll be cooperating very soon. So we're starting to get into the wood, which is what we want. So you can see a little bit of the resin still in the very bottom there. I'll go ahead and take that out. I still got a little divot right there on the side. So we'll take this all the way to wood here. Almost there. There we go. Now we're getting where we want to be. In there. So we have our wood exposed. Although we've got one little spot of resin right there still. Okay. So that's looking good. Let me see, how am I doing on time? 12:23. Okay. Because what I'm going to do today, obviously I'm not going to sand this. I do want to spray a coat of lacquer on it for you. I probably won't take it all the way to its finished wall thickness today just because of time. But let me go ahead and work on this outside. And I'm going to have to put the lathe back over where it was. And we'll clean up that outside finish. Get that all shaped up. Da-doom. There we go. Because taking the inside work here, taking the inside out, mirroring the outside profile, this is just work. It's just time spent carving and carving and carving. I want to do the outside, get it where we want it. I'll spend some time in there, but when it gets close to 1 o'clock, I want to go ahead and spray a little bit of lacquer on the outside of this so you can see what it looks like, and I'll spray it on the inside as well. But there's no need for you to watch me cut away ½ an inch of wood and resin. That's just like watching somebody sand or paint dry. Yeah, nothing to be seen there, so to speak. So, to the overhead. This cutter's been working okay, so I think I'm going to stay with it for right now. I do want to, I think I want to check that, and I'm going to bring my tailstock back up just because I don't want to have this thing go flying if something happens. So just to be safe, I'm going to bring tailstock back in place. I'm going to change out, now that I've got my wood showing in here, puppy back here, now that I've got my wood exposed, I'm going to go ahead and change out the center, take away the revolving stub center, and put in a regular drive, he says. Of course, does he know where it is? He should, as he speaks in the third person. There it is. Nope. What would I do with it? I never take it out. That's why when I took it out and put it somewhere, there's only no telling. I know, Art, it's in the drawer, right? It's in the drawer. It's probably on the floor. Where would that be? Where would that be? As they say, fiddlesticks. You would think I also would have multiple live centers laying around in here, but I don't. I have multiple live centers. I just don't have them in here. Ain't that some howdy doody? Let's see. I can't go a show without misplacing something, can I? Always something. Let's see. Me. As he roots around in the cabinets and the drawers where it shouldn't be in the first place. Well, that's just a fine how do you do. It must be hiding out with my calipers. Okay, well, you know what? Then we'll just run that little piece in the center. Oh, hold the phone. It's not the one I'm looking for. but it'll do the trick. It's not a threaded one. But it is a live center. Actually, I've got a different one in mind here. Normally that thread's on. Since that one's MIA, we'll make do with that. There's always a way. No, I know it didn't make it to the back of the drawer, Art. It didn't even make it to the front of the drawer. That's all good. We're safe. That's right, Jeff. It works, and I go with whatever works, and it is safe. Can't come flying off and hit me in the head. Okay. Overhead for you. A lot of zoom. About 1180 on the speed. So I'm kind of clearing off my contour area over there. And most of the work is right here on the top. There we go. That just rolls over nice. And I got a little hump right in here. I can see that. But that's kind of just a simple shape that I was looking for. And it's intentional. It's got a little bit of a straighter edge on the top here than it does on the very bottom. But now that we're in the overall piece, I'm going to come through and just kind of clean it up. And then I'll be switching over to the radius cutter here real soon. Clean that face up real quick. Okay. Alright, let's switch over to our radius cutter. This is the CI2 NR. Now sometimes I'll actually use the edge intentionally if I want to take extra material off. Otherwise you don't want to do that. You just want to cut in the center of these cutters. And again, think of it as shaping and sanding. It's not really much different than using your bowl scraper when you're cleaning up the final cuts in your bowl or a holoform or anything like that. Okay, this thing is so cool. Now I've got some vibration right there. Maybe we can get that out. I'm going to change hands because I'm going towards the left and I'm going to go all the way around to the back, and I'll get in the way of the headstock, or I'll be between the headstock and the tool, so I switch over to left-handed. And so you can see what I'm talking about. Because if I I'm right-handed like many, and so I would be in my own way. So I switch to my left hand, and it's good to always practice every once in a while your left-handed turning, so that I can go all the way around and not get in the way of the tool as I come all the way around to the bottom. And I'll make another pass here and I'll switch back over to the overhead. Okay. Overhead. If you do have to replace a bearing in your lathe, a machinist should be able to do that for you. I've got the bearings and I probably can do it here in house, but otherwise, yeah, if I don't have the time, I would take it somewhere and have them do it. Getting real close. I want to turn this tool rest just so I can get all the way as far up in here as I can. Make sure I'm not hitting the chuck. And that works out pretty well. Okay. So my tabletop over here is dirty. I need to put a fresh one on. I get them at that place called Harbor Freight. They got the mats for your work tables, for your toolboxes. I've got a little hump right in here still. Hopefully I'm not putting my head in the way, trying not to, because I can't see. I need if I had something black here oh, here we go. Here's a fresh piece of black for contour. Makes all the difference in the world. All the difference in the world. So now I can look at the far edge to look at my profile and really clean it up the way I want to. So there's that hump in there, and that pretty well takes care of that. And now that I've got the black back there, I want to make a little more change up top here, right in here. So if I want to move a lot, I'll actually employ the corner of the cutter. And take off a little extra. Okie dokie. Alright, so that will get sanded out. If I was to change this cutter out to a fresh one, I might rotate it just for yucks. It's not a new cutter, and since I'm at the very end and I'm going to spray this and then sand it later, I'm going to rotate this cutter real quick. Have a good one, Jeff. Thanks for dropping by. Be careful out there at the yard. I'm just going to give this cutter a rotation. I don't know how long it's been on here. .48. Yep, we're real close on time. Let me see if this cuts any different or not. Does seem to cut a little bit cleaner. We'll clean this up one more time. Sorry about that. The fan blew a resin string up underneath my face shield, and then I tried to swallow it. I think I may have had my face shield in the way for you guys on that one. That's how I ended up with the string in my mouth. But that's looking good. And that changing the cutter, I did get a better cut, a little bit cleaner cut. One little hump right in here now, because I took a little bit heavier cut as I was making that when I changed the cutter over. Okay. So if I were to sand it, I would use when I sand it for real, I'd use a right angle sander, sand away, go through the grits. Probably, because I know I'm going to use a lacquer finish on this, I would go with probably no more than 400, get it smoothed out to no more than 400, and be good with that. But you don't want to watch me sand, and I don't want you to watch me sand. So I'm just going to shoot a little lacquer on here. I'll turn off my fan because it's about 11:52. Turn my fan down on low. Just so you can see what this guy will look like when it's clear, as my voice cracks. And again, you'll see these tool marks and chatters in here. Because it hasn't been sanded at all. But you get the idea. So I'll go to the overhead and I'll turn off the key. Don't spray lacquer on your lathe. It gets all over everything. start to see the, I don't know how well you can see, you can start to see the gold pearl powder in the resin there. And because this is still really thick, it's not as evident as it will be once it gets thinned out, when the wall is thinner. I'm trying to keep it away from the chuck, if you can tell. Like I say, if I had a little trout swimming down in there, that would be pretty cool. And I can airbrush that on the outside. And this may be a nice piece for a satin finish as well. Again, first it has to be sanded, but I love the look of all these wormholes. And this is, to me, this is like an ocean scene in here. And if you've been following along, you remember that I had all this crystallized stabilizing resin on the wood there, and you don't really even see it. You can, it's just kind of shimmery in there, but it doesn't look bad. So it does kind of look like an underwater scene going on there. And let's see what the top looks like. So I'll pop over to the end camera for you, and we'll spray a little bit on the top here. No, that's not a bunch of gooch. So like I said, that wall thickness is going to be about half of that. Once I come back in here and turn this, I want to take it about half of that wall thickness away, which will give me more transparency in the resin here as well. Because I don't want the resin to be overpowering. I want it to be just like a window. And right now it's kind of like a clear wall, if you know what I mean. I want it to be more like a window. Think of it that way, just a pane of glass. And I'll take some pictures of this up close so you can see down in here better, and post them on social media there, Facebook and Instagram and things like that. But even without sanding, it's amazing. And I could actually skip the sanding on this. A lot of times I'll just use the lacquer and cut the lacquer back. And I can't quite reach up and zoom that camera, or I'd pull it in for you. But I'll take some pictures for you guys. So I'm real happy with that. I'm really happy with the way that's looking. And again, the gold pearl is just a very light, and I wanted it really subtle. There's a very light swirl in there, just ever so subtle. And the resin, I put just a little bit of blue. It's actually right here. I used, which was it, marine blue is the resin tint that I put in there. Because I really wanted this wood to be yellow. I wanted this really yellow and blue piece. And one other thing, let's try something for fun here real quick before we're out of time. Let's take, I'm out of battery power again. What's the deal? I was going to shine my cell phone light through here, but it tells me I'm 6%. Something not charging today. All right, come on, go away quick. I need a flashlight. Need a flashlight. Hurry, 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 flashlight before the battery dies. Let's see what this does, if it'll let it run at 6%. Oh, you piece of... Hang on just a second. I gotta try this. I gotta try it. I gotta see if I can get this plugged in enough to do this. Because I don't have a flashlight out here, just my phone. It's not gonna reach. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna make this work. I'm gonna make this work, he says. Maybe not. He's not charging. Oh, well, shoot. Shoot, shoot, shoot. All right, this will probably blind you. Nothing's going to do what I want. I was going to grab a light there. Well, you'll just have to take my word for it. I was going to shine a light up through there. Cell phone's dead. Other light won't reach. What can I say? One of those days. I'm happy with this thing. I think it looks really cool. I had fun with it. It did exactly what I wanted it to do, even with the crash of the crystallization of the stabilizing resin. I was able to work through that. So that was a cool deal. And I don't see, as I drop strands in there, I don't see ramifications that are negative of that stabilized and crystallized resin in the grooves and the holes and then in the ocean area of this, if you will. So I'm happy. I'm quite pleased. As far as I'm concerned, it's a wonderful success. Just have to turn, and I love this stuff. I'm going to jump back in here again real quick. I just love this pattern of all the wormholes. The nature doing its thing, and just enough resin to fill them up. So, yeah, Mark says light it up. Well, that's what I was trying to do, Mark, but my phone's dead, and I can't get a light here quick enough to do it. So I'll take pictures of it. It'll be cool. Well, gang, everybody, I thank you. Let's say have a happy and safe Memorial Day. Again, remember the reason why we're having a holiday today for all those who have protected our country and served in the military. Be sure and thank one. If you see somebody, if you know somebody, a veteran, take care of them, say hey to them. Don't forget, Spirecraft has that sale today. It's today only 15% off. MD15, anything in the Spirecraft store is 15% off today. It ends at, I think it kicks out at midnight tonight. So jump in there and get it, whatever you've been waiting for. Have a safe week. I will see you guys on Thursday who come. If join Monday Methods group and come over on Thursday night, we'll talk about this piece. And if not, I'll see you next Monday on Monday Methods. So I'm going to go over and probably punch up that sale emblem for a minute to finish this out. And we'll call it a good day from there. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Art. Thank you, Roy. I had a wonderful time. You guys all be good and be safe. And I'm going to punch you into a sale flyer just for a few minutes before I turn this guy off.